Imagine you are at a dinner party. The music is nice, the food is good, and the conversation is flowing. Then, someone turns to you and asks the most dreadful question in the world. So what do? Your heart sinks. Your palms start to sweat. You don't know what to say. Because last month, you were absolutely obsessed with graphic design. You bought the books. You watched the tutorials. And you were convinced this was your destiny. But this month, you are deep into learning how to code in Python. And honestly, next month, you're pretty sure you want to be a baker. Or maybe a marine biologist. Or maybe start a podcast about history. You look around the room at your friends. They seem to have it all figured out. They have been working the same job for 10 years, steadily climbing the ladder, building a clear, straight path. And then there is you. You have a graveyard of half-finished hobbies in your closet. You have a resume that looks like a patchwork quilt of random jobs. And deep down, a quiet, shameful voice whispers, "What is wrong with me? Why can't I stick to anything? Why am I so flaky? Am I broken?" If this inner monologue sounds familiar, I have some life-changing news for you. You are not broken. You do not lack focus. And you are certainly not a failure. You simply belong to a different neurological tribe. You are what psychologists call a multipotentialite, or a polymath. And the world was simply not built for your brain. To understand why you feel like an imposter in your own life, we have to look at the geometry of success that we have been taught since kindergarten. For the last century, our industrial society has worshipped one specific shape, the letter I. The I-shaped person is a specialist. They pick one narrow field, say, dentistry or accounting, and they drill deep. They go down, 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 accumulating vertical depth for 40 years. The world loves specialists because they fit neatly into boxes. They are predictable. They are efficient cogs in the machine. Then, corporate culture introduced the T-shaped person, someone with a broad base of general knowledge, but still one deep, singular pillar of expertise. But your brain? Your brain is neither an I nor a T. Your brain is M-shaped, or perhaps a comb-shaped mind. You are wired for multiple deep roots. You thrive on the thrill of the beginner's curve. Your dopamine spikes when you are learning a new system, exploring a new world, connecting dots that others don't even see. But the moment you figure out how the system works, the moment the mystery is gone, the dopamine cuts off. You get bored. And let's be clear about this boredom. For a specialist, boredom is just a signal to take a break. But for a multipotentialite, boredom is physically painful. It feels like suffocation. It feels like a threat to your existence. Your brain treats mastery as stagnation. When a job becomes purely routine, your brain perceives it as a cage. You aren't being difficult or entitled when you want to quit a job you just learned. You are starving for intellectual nutrition. You have effectively said, "Challenge completed. I have extracted the necessary data. Next, please." In our modern hyper-specialized world, this trait is seen as a liability. You are called a jack of all trades, master of none. But historically, you were the ultimate survivor. A polymath, someone who could build a shelter, hunt, negotiate, and heal wounds, was invaluable. Leonardo da Vinci was a painter, an engineer, an anatomist, and a botanist. He didn't finish half his paintings. Today, we would diagnose him with ADHD and tell him to focus. Back then, he was a genius. You are in very good company. This brings us to your hidden superpower, something researchers call far transfer. This is where the magic of your brain truly lives. The specialist uses something called near transfer. They take a skill they learned in one situation and apply it to a very similar situation. An accountant uses math for tax returns and then uses math for audits. It is linear. It is safe. But the polymath uses far transfer. Because you have dabbled in 10 different fields, Your brain is full of seemingly unrelated metaphors. You see the underlying structure in music harmony, and you realize it applies to writing software code. You understand the way a forest ecosystem shares nutrients, and suddenly you see a brilliant solution for organizing a corporate team that no MBA graduate could ever see. You are not just a distracted coder. You are a coder who understands psychology and design. That combination makes you infinitely more valuable than a coder who only knows code. Innovation does not happen in the silo. It happens at the intersection. And you are the intersection. However, recognizing this power doesn't erase the shame of the quitting point. You feel like a failure every time you stop a project, but we need to fundamentally redefine what quitting means for you. For a specialist, quitting is failure. For a multipotentialite, quitting is often just graduation. When you learn photography for 3 months and then stop, you didn't fail at becoming a photographer. You succeeded in extracting the skill you needed. Maybe you learned about composition and lighting. Now you take that knowledge and apply it to your next obsession, web design. You are not building a tower, you are building a mosaic. Every failed hobby is actually a permanent tile in a unique skill set that only you possess. This is called skill stacking. So, stop asking yourself, why did I quit? Start asking, what did I take with me? This leads us to the imposter syndrome trap. Because you are often a beginner in many fields, you constantly feel like you don't know enough. You compare your year 1 in guitar to someone else's year 20. But remember, your value is not in being the best guitarist in the world. Your value is in being the only guitarist who is also a data scientist and a chef. You are creating a niche of one. This is what we call the hybrid career. Instead of trying to fit into a pre-existing job title, you create a role that only you can fill. A technologist is common. A technologist who understands medieval history is rare, and suddenly very valuable to a museum building a VR exhibit. Your weirdness is your wealth. So, how do you actually survive in a world that wants you to pick a lane? You cannot just quit your job every 6 months when the boredom hits. That is a recipe for financial chaos. You need a strategy. The first model is the Einstein Approach, or the good enough job. Einstein worked in a patent office. It was boring, routine work. It did not fulfill his soul. But it was easy for him. It paid the bills and left his brain with enough energy to develop the theory of relativity in his spare time. Do not demand that your job fulfills 100% of your intellectual needs. That is a recipe for burnout. Get a good enough job that is low stress and pays the rent, and let it be the financial sponsor of your true passions. The second model is serial mastery, or seasons of focus. The danger for polymaths is the dash shape, a mile wide and an inch deep. You know a little about everything but can't do anything. The solution is not to do everything at once, but to do things in seasons. Pick one obsession for the next 6 months. Maybe for the next 6 months, you are a potter. Dive deep. Get to the 80% competency level. Then, and only then, give yourself permission to graduate and move to the next pillar. This way, you look back at your life and see a forest of strong trees, not just a field of saplings. The third crucial tool is the external brain. Your brain generates more ideas than it can hold. If you try to keep them all in your head, you will freeze. You need a Zettelkasten or an idea garden. Use an app like Notion or a simple notebook. When you get fascinated by medieval architecture for a week, write it down. Capture the dots. Then, when the obsession fades, let it go. 3 years from now, when you are designing a video game, you might stumble upon those notes and realize the structure of a cathedral is the perfect level design. I want you to stop apologizing for your curiosity. The world tells you to niche down. The world tells you to focus, but the world is changing. In a wicked learning environment where the rules are constantly shifting, the specialist is fragile. If their industry disappears, they are lost. But the polymath is anti-fragile. You are built for change. You are not flaky. You are not a quitter. You are a scanner. You are a learner. You are a bridge builder. So, pick up that guitar. And if you put it down in 2 months to learn karate, that's okay. You didn't fail at guitar. You succeeded at being you. I'm curious. How many dead hobbies do you currently have in your closet? I have a ukulele and a pottery wheel I haven't touched in years. Tell me yours in the comments. Let's build a museum of our abandoned interests together. And if you struggle with feeling like you are constantly disappointing people with your career choices, you need to watch this video on people-pleasing next. It explains why you feel responsible for everyone else's opinion of you. Click here, and I'll see you there.